This week on Comic History, Agent Venom aka Flash Thompson fights the Human Fly and goes on a different kind of mission in Venom Father's Day. What's up guys, and welcome to another episode of Comic History, the series where we talk about iconic origins and storylines in the world of comics. In this episode, we're going to be wrapping up Volume 1 of the 2011 Venom series following Flash Thompson aka Agent Venom, which we've done several episodes leading up to this story, including the origin of Agent Venom vs. Kraven the Hunter, and Agent Venom vs. Spider-Man. So if you want to be filled in on what's happened up to this point, go watch those videos. Flash Thompson was originally the quintessential schoolyard bully character, a repeat tormentor to Peter Parker growing up, and an iconic super fan of Spider-Man and head of his fan club. In Venom Father's Day, we see a lot more of what made Flash the man he became and why he was the way he was. The 2011 Venom series was great for character development and brought the Flash Thompson character to a more complex, relatable, fully fleshed out person, and it's only fitting that the first volume wraps up with this issue. The issue starts with a creepy minor villain named Human Fly who carries a kidnapped senator's daughter to the bell tower of a Manhattan church, adding her to a group of people he has trapped there who he is essentially rotting away and then eating. Being a cannibalistic psycho, Human Fly briefly tries to justify his actions by saying that people are just animals and calories are calories. During his speech, Agent Venom bursts onto the scene, webbing his mouth and pulling his face into a flying kick, telling Human Fly that federal agents taking out innocent murdering psychos is also the circle of life, while thinking to himself that the gore and smell of half-eaten bodies is much worse than anything he saw on his 2 tours in the military. Human Fly fights back, blasting Venom with corrosive bile and then tackling him into the massive church bell, with a mixture of the ear-shattering sound and the smell of dead bodies sending the Venom symbiote into a frenzy. And taking advantage of the moment, Human Fly melts the top of the bell, causing it to fall directly onto Agent Venom. Flash lifts up the bell and thinks to himself that he's barely keeping the symbiote under control, and that temperament is really not his strong suit. He throws the giant bell at Human Fly, knocking him and half of the building out towards the street, leaping out after him and webbing the bell, the debris, and Human Fly before they can crash onto the people below. Flash thinks to himself about why he took the job in the first place. He'd like to believe that it's to serve his country, but he knows that's a lie he tells himself, that he's still just a kid running the gridiron, trying to earn the respect of the one person who has never given him it, his father. Flash drops the symbiote off with Project Rebirth and returns to his apartment, thinking about how even though he saved a dozen people and apprehended a supervillain, all he got was a reprimand for allowing himself to be filmed in public. He thinks to himself that he should have told Dodge about being compromised by Crime Master, which we saw last episode in Agent Venom vs. Spider-Man, and how if he did, they would take the symbiote from him and relocate him with a new identity, forcing him to live out his life as a legless car salesman, and decides to deal with Crime Master on his own, and to continue lying to Dodge and Betty about his life. At that moment, Flash gets a message on his answering machine from his mom, who says that she hasn't seen his dad in days, after he had relapsed and gone back to his old alcoholic ways, and tells Flash to call her if he sees him. Before she can finish her sentence, Flash yells and smashes the phone on the wall, knocking down a picture of his parents as he wheels his way out. Flash thinks to himself about how his dad treated him growing up, how he started football to earn his approval, only to get continually beaten at home, and how he started turning those beatings on the other kids at school to get approval from the students and teachers who watched him do it. Joining the army was the first choice Flash made purely to better himself, and for a while it did seem to earn him some points with his father, who stopped drinking and was sober for 2 years following the news. Because of his mom and his own history of alcoholism before the military, Flash had decided to give his dad another chance, but always told himself that if he ever started drinking again, he was dead to him. He arrives at his girlfriend Betty Brant's apartment, finally on time for one of their dates, and after they talk about Betty getting saved by Spider-Man in the last issue, and her going back to writing, Flash apologizes for not being around enough, and she tells him that she's at least worth a phone call. Right before they're about to have sex to make up, Flash's phone rings and he angrily tells his mom that he's not wasting any more of his life trying to pull his dad out of some bar. And when she tells him that she's all alone, he feels bad enough that he agrees to go look for him. Betty offers to go with him, but Flash is so angry that he wheels away without even answering her, calling Peter Parker instead to go with him. They try several bars with no results, and when Peter asks him if his dad used to frequent any others, Flash blows up on him, saying that he didn't have time between beatings to find out what bar his dad was at. He quickly apologizes and says that he's acting just like his dad, and Peter tells him that they're not the same, at all. Flash gets a call on a cell from the NYPD telling him that his father is at the police station causing trouble. Flash finds him shit-faced, telling all of his former co-workers that they're doing their jobs wrong, and that if he were still a cop, things would be different. And when Flash says that he's taking him home, his father threatens him and pushes the open bottle in his face, telling him to have a drink. And when Flash asks what's wrong with him, he blows up and says that Flash is a weak cripple, punching him and bringing out Flash's rage. Flash grabs his arm and prepares to break his nose to shut him up and to get revenge, but realizing that that's what his dad would do, he just drops him to the ground, knowing that he's not the same type of person. Flash's dad passes out in a pool of whiskey, saying that Flash is a worthless drain on the government tit, and that you get what you deserve in life. Flash takes him to the hospital, where he finds out that his father has cirrhosis of the liver from his years of alcoholism, and that his father had known for a full year without telling anyone, thinking that if he was gonna die anyway, he might as well die drunk. And Flash says, as fucked up as it is, Flash understands that sentiment. But when he has to be the one to break the news to his mom and watch her break down, any sympathy he has for his father is gone, and he leaves the hospital with his father calling his name, finding Betty outside and falling into her arms, until his phone rings. Betty tells him to not answer, but Flash picks up and tells Dodge that he's on his way, heading back to his life as Agent Venom. And that wraps up Venom Father's Day, a somber ending note to the first volume of the 2011 Venom series, highlighting Flash's character instead of focusing on fights or missions. If you're a fan of Venom, Agent Venom, or just enjoyed this video, there are some great videos coming up. After this, the Venom series ties into the epic Spider Island event, which is a huge, awesome Spider-Man crossover story, and also features Agent Venom versus anti-venom. I will be covering that conflict in its own video in the entire Spider Island event, so make sure to give this video a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button. If there's a storyline, character, or origin you'd like to see an episode of Comic History on, go check out our Patreon and donate at patreon.com/rnsentertainment. One of the donation rewards is to commission any story you want, both helping the channel grow and getting content specifically for you. Make sure to follow me on Twitter at Roman_RNS, like and follow us on Facebook, subscribe to our gaming channel RNS Gaming, and I'll see you guys next time.